Can you see if it works now?
Testing.
Well, I can ask him.
Let's try it. Let's try it now.
Somebody
Okay,
say
cool.
something so there's
Yeah,
Keep us
there's audio.
posted.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually they type it in the chat here if they're not hearing, so that's where I can. But we should be good now.
Okay.
Not that I was. It's always different every time I come down here. I don't know if the audio things. And right now there's like what is that? The feedback thing going on.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
kind of a new thing. So I was touching more buttons, but I think we're good. So hopefully.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let us know if they.
Still no? Then
Interesting.
we have recording going, streaming going. All the things are green. Everything's green. All mics are on.
Yeah, right? Like
Maybe you can have somebody else in chat.
Yeah, is anyone else? Well, you can't, because you're on YouTube now, right? Not Zoom? Or.
Correct. We're on.
I think we're gonna have to ditch the Richardson budget for audio. Probably get something pretty good with
Is
that.
Yeah.
I know, the complaints, from when the room's full and people say they can't hear back there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna touch one more button. One more button. Okay. Okay. That's not the one. Everything.
Is the feedback we're getting all from the same person? Oh, okay.
Okay.
It just came on.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Everyone's gotta say everything again. Like,
Yeah.
I'll let the people that were there talk first.
Okay. Yes. So just agree about the arbitorium. I think it would be silly that I agree too that the idea of value engineering or just revisiting what elements actually go into that park is worthwhile. I would hate to see that come at the cost of the arboretum just because, and also I read that word before I learned how to say it, and it still kind of comes out as arbitorium sometimes. So if that slipped in there, sorry. But arboretum, so agree on arboretum. I agree that it's worth recognizing the Little Thompson corridor property acquisitions. I think that is fantastic and incredible. I'm a little bit worried though about the optics of the shift from agricultural to like municipal recreation use. And so I do kind of have some questions about how you market that balancing kind of the idea of birthed. I want to do that consciously in a way that recognizes the agricultural heritage and that recognizes how that continues in the future. And I think that if we market that in any other way, I think we are missing an opportunity. So those are some thoughts. I also have some other notes. Sorry. I think crossing 287 in some way, whether it's 10E or Berthoud Parkway and 287, I think those are great things to prioritize. I know that you mentioned last time that that's a high priority, and I just think all of these conversations just emphasize that more for me, that that's worth continuing to try to pursue. In terms of the pool, I don't have very many thoughts on funding mechanism. I wouldn't want to be in the board's position, but I just have one concern about if there's a bond measure. And it's that I think that the public might not see it as a choice between a pool at Richardson and a pool at Wagner, but a pool or no pool kind of dichotomy. And I think that that's something that I would want you to consider in how you pursue a bond. And so I think reducing the amount of that's financed either by some of the by whatever mechanism you daydream up, or by scaling down the project, I think that might be worth investigating for that kind of in part of that as part of that idea. And then for the pool itself, I'm okay with either location. I'm one of the people who doesn't have access to a neighborhood pool. And I don't have an in, like I don't have a friend in any of the neighborhoods that have HOA pools, but I do like to lap swim. The only time I've ever lap swimmed outside is in a heated pool, so I don't know if I'm the target market for this pool. But I will say too, the other thing that I've considered whenever I've shopped around for pool memberships is if it was an outdoor pool, is it significantly cheaper than the indoor pool? Because I'd rather swim indoors. And so I think that prioritizing an outcome that gets us to a point where you can have a daily entry fee or a seasonal entry fee that's, you know, comparable to the rec center that's cheaper, I think that's a desirable outcome because that is what would get me lap swimming. And I also think that is something that would get families, like if you imagine it, I really liked whoever mentioned yesterday the idea of kind of the community's living room. I think that the admission has to be affordable for that to happen. And I think that the rec center's admission is a good benchmark for what that mark of affordability would be. And then finally, I was a lifeguard, and I lifeguarded in a pool that had 0 depth entry, and I think that's also in considering what components you keep and leave out. There were always little tiny kids, like kids that were like learning how to walk, learning how to swim in the 0 depth entry area of the pool that I worked at. That's also where a lot of seniors would enter in because it's obviously very accessible to people with disabilities. So I think that's a great option to consider including. And if you do include 0 depth entry, I would prioritize keeping the entrance to that pool close to the, you know, creating like a roundabout or something like that, because we heard yesterday about the accessibility problems that the current rec center has in terms of distance from parking lot to the entryway. So if our goal is to make a pool that's accessible to people who have mobility problems, I think that's something else to consider, and wherever the pool gets built. And then very final thought is that I think the rectangular field is really fun. And if it's not cost prohibitive to include that in Richardson one day, I think that's the kind of thing that like somebody's going to be like, oh no, I'm on the square field today. You know, you'll remember where you hit your home run and stuff. So I think that's fun. And we should keep it unless it becomes really cost prohibitive, because I think that'll be a neat little, you know, piece of community lore where people will gossip because of why this is square instead of diamond. So that is my dump of thoughts from last night.
Can I add something to that? When you're mentioning about the fees for a pool, I think it might be helpful to consider a pool-only membership, seasonal membership for families that only want to go to the pool in the summer. I mean, I would buy a pool-only membership. For sure.
Certainly, yeah.
And it might make it more affordable than somebody a family having to think about a membership to the whole facility. I don't know if they're planning to charge for the ball fields, or I mean, how's the entry in general going to work? Has that been discussed?
Not with me.
I don't think that's
But I thought they talked about a season pass for the pool or something
Yeah.
like that last night. Being
Yeah, and
Some
from
of
what I
them.
remember, I think from my memory, generally ball fields just go and play ball, and that came up a little bit last night about especially the bigger fields, because they would be nicer and more accessible to leagues and things like that. That maybe the smaller fields would just be left open for pickup games and whoever wants to show up, but that the bigger fields would probably be locked or with more rigid access. So I think the idea would be the pool area would have an access fee, but the ball fields would just be basically open. But I don't know, so don't quote me on that.
okay. Anna,
Sure. So I'm hearing what everyone is saying. I have a lot of similar points. I'm wondering if we can maybe take each one of those and do a little bit deeper dive, because I think there's more to discuss than just at the surface level on some of these things. So I'd like to maybe, if we can dive in a little bit deeper. I appreciate that the trustees took our recommendation to have that meeting yesterday, and then were kind enough to give the support committee the opportunity tonight to work through things a little bit more and provide a recommendation back. So I think I would like to dive in a little bit more into some of these topics and flesh them out, because what I some things that I heard last night. I just want to work through some of those issues and make sure that we're all on the same page with what those mean. Is that okay? Can we dive in a little bit deeper? Okay. I think one topic I'd like to discuss too is the trails and open space. Is anyone here? I mean, I'm hearing that everyone is in favor of the Arboretum. So I think one thing that we can do, if we're talking about, to your point, Callie, about we need to be making more formal motions, I think maybe that's something that we could recommend to proceed with that. I had a question for maybe Keith, I don't know. I'm just a little bit concerned. What I heard last night was that, or what I heard at our, I don't know if it was our last port meeting or the port meeting before, was that the Arboretum CDs were supposed to be done this month. And what I heard last night was that it's now going to be 4 to 5 months from now. So I'm trying to understand why it's going to take 4 to 5 months to get from 90% CDs to 100% CDs.
Mhm.
And so for me, this is a no-brainer, and I don't understand why it's going to take that long. So maybe that's something, if you all agree, we could also recommend to expedite that process, get it in forth to the trustees, and have them have an up or down vote on that Arboretum.
I guess, Keith, could you, I don't know how much you know about,
Yeah,
I mean, Chris just said last night, you're on like the very final details and there's a lot of back and forth, but.
right. The 90% were given to us beginning of October. We've had meetings almost every week with the teams going through that and our staff reviewing them. They informed us a week or two ago that we should expect majority, like it'd almost be considered 100% drawings in December. There's a couple utility lines that water and sewer have added in, extending through the property, that are still in the design. And part of that is, we're finding these things out on the fly, and they're going, hey, we got to send a survey team back out there again. But we want to send a different survey team because we don't like the ones we're working with right now. And now we got to get multiple quotes. And so that's a couple of those happened in October. There is a possibility, and I don't want to jump ahead, but I initially thought we were going to try to have something ready for bid in February. We'd have the CDs possibly ready in December, and we could do like an ad alt with it and put it out for bid, knowing that there's these other utilities that are still getting wrapped up. There's basically a sewer and water line extension going down from the rec center down through the property, increasing the sizes of sewer and water. I don't get into those that much. That's Ken Matthews. So I think those will take till January, February to finish up, but I think we'll have some CDs that might be ready to go to bid a little earlier. We get it. You don't want to go for bid from December to January. That's kind of a weird timing with the holidays and stuff. So we'd probably get back from New Year's, and if you get something in front of the board, usually there's, whether it's for second or fourth Tuesday, whether there's a bid package is ready to go yet. So we'll have the documents, but is the bid package ready to go in January, February? I mean, I still think that's a possibility, and was hoping for that. That's what we were talking about a little bit. I think the idea of overpromising is rough, but whether it's done, ready to go, usually construction is not good in February and March. So usually you're getting into April and May for things to dry up, but it just depends. The first part of most construction process is a lot of grading and ripping everything out, and so it's also the construction season a little bit, but we don't know till we put out for bid.
And the board can't vote on it until the CDs are 100%, till they're given that final package.
Well, so we'll have the CDs, and then we'll put a bid package together, and that will be shared with the board to approve for us to go to bid, right? We only have one board meeting in December, so they're not gonna be ready by the first board meeting in December. So then we're definitely getting into January, the earliest to have a bid package to go. So if we're getting the 100% now expected in December sometime, we're gonna have to look through that as staff again, make sure the bid package is ready. That will go into January, like I said, and so that's kind of what's going on. It's been pushed. The original finish date was July, and there's new complications that pop in every time we meet. It seems like they're being worked on.
Do you have an update on the the acquisition piece of the land?
Yeah, I think the best update I can give is the school board is supposed to review it in November. That's what we've been told. I haven't seen an agenda yet. I asked for an update today from the school board, not school board, but people we're working with the school. So I don't think I can get much in it. I don't know how real estate transactions work and what you're allowed to share or not, but I think we're happy with prices on
Still
both
moving
sides. Yeah.
forward, but not completed yet.
Mhm.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
I guess given his response,
Yeah.
do you still feel the need to put in the motion that it be expedited? I mean, I suppose it sounds like you guys are working as fast as you can, I guess. I'm not sure that it could be
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
faster.
That's
I
fine.
think it's fair to ask for, a consensus on a timeline, even if it's a huge range. Like the goal is for construction to start in the spring, or the goal is for construction to begin in the summer. I mean, I think it gives people something, there's less argument, there's
Yeah.
less opposition.
Or just
Or,
as soon
or
as
less
possible.
wondering
Yeah.
why it's on an agenda again and again and
And-
again. It's saying, this is the timeline that's anticipated.
So, because of the issues with timelines, would you guys be comfortable saying something like, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but because you all agreed that this is the top priority because it's already been budgeted, it needs to start work as soon as possible. So, if you guys were to make a motion to that the board move forward with that, maybe as soon as possible, since it is the number one priority already on the budget.
And
Something like that.
And publish a timeline as soon as they're comfortable, not just for our sake, but for the public. So when people are asking questions, what is it about the Arboretum? There's a statement from the town that says, our goal or the anticipated start date.
Well, I'd imagine, I mean, if we have this going, then the town's probably going to want to talk about it to announce what an exciting thing they're breaking ground on too. So I mean, it seems like that would be pretty much built in. I'm more comfortable with the ASAP. The Arboretum is number one, and we'd like to recommend that you commence that ASAP. That's the recommendation that I'm most comfortable with.
That sounds like a motion.
so
Is everybody?
to support the Arboretum, our committee is making a motion to support the Arboretum
As a top
and
priority.
as a top priority and to expedite that process as
To move forward as soon
or
as possible.
yeah, ASAP, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Would someone like to make a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion that the committee recommends that the Arboretum remain the top priority for the town and that the efforts to get it underway happen as soon as possible.
I will second that motion. You can second. Or maybe make the motion.
Does anybody have better wording?
I thought that was
Yeah,
great.
I think that's fine.
That was great. Did you get that, Eleanor?
Motion to recommend Arboretum as top priority in efforts to get underway as soon as possible. That's what I got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Did you guys vote?
No. Roll call vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
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 Another topic I wanted to talk about, which I think came up in some of the comments, was the indoor pool. And I heard some talk at the meeting last night about that. I kind of wanted to flesh out that indoor pool option a little bit more, because I think there are more options than what I heard last night for the indoor pool. So, if you look at the Wagner easement, there's actually quite a bit of space that an indoor pool could be placed at Wagner Farm Park. It doesn't have to be on that south side. One thought I had, and it doesn't have to be this way, but you could put an indoor pool where the soccer fields are on the north side. And if you actually look where the easement is, if you all have gone to the soccer fields, the farthest soccer field south, there's actually a chunk of space there that doesn't have anything, it's just dirt. You could put a soccer field, that you could put multiple soccer fields there. It's actually quite a big space. And so this idea that the indoor pool, like you're losing space by not having an indoor pool at that specific spot, I think is not correct. I heard last night, I think Administrator Kirk mentioned that you could have an indoor pool by the high school. So that's an option. And another option that I've been thinking about lately is, has anyone been to or heard of Epic? So Eudora Pool and Ice Center. I haven't been there because it's so far away, but dang, wouldn't it be cool to have an ice rink, which nobody has talked about, and a natatorium of some sort, an Epic type thing. You could have that at Richardson, right where this outdoor pool is being proposed, right? So the town also has a lot of other property right now, and I think we need to use our imaginations a little bit about this indoor pool. Like, there are other options. We do not have to reserve that spot on the south side for an indoor pool. I think there's a lot of options, and I think from the timeline that was presented, I mean, the indoor pool isn't even in the next 10 years, so it could be for a future board to decide. But I feel like this was a big factor for folks, and I just wanted to offer that. I think there are a lot of options that are totally viable for where an indoor pool could be placed.
I guess personally, I just don't see an indoor pool as a priority. I mean, and it's
Right.
obviously not. We have one. I know it's not a competition pool. I know we don't have enough lap lanes. But if it weren't for the fact that people are concerned about that additional space, I don't even think an indoor pool would be a conversation right now. And I agree, like, yeah, 10 years, 20 years from now, there might be lots of other places we could put an indoor pool. And I do think the rec center in other ways is going to need to expand.
Absolutely.
Which I shared last night. Like, I think we need basketball courts and fitness space. If I were choosing, but I don't use the pool, so I have a different perspective. So I think, personally, I just think an indoor pool is way down the road.
Yeah, and what I heard last night was that, and I've looked at this too, you can see that there is space north of the rec center to do expansion for basketball courts and fitness, and I totally feel like this is also a topic that needs at least some consideration. If you're going to do some expansion, that's going to cost multi-million dollars, right? And so I'm feeling the pinch already at the rec center. I was there on Sunday with my daughter, well, my whole family, but trying to play basketball, and one of the courts had a volleyball net, and so that was taken up by volleyball people, and there were 10 people on the other court, and I had to wait 45 minutes. I was playing pass with my daughter on the side to even get access to a hoop. So I think that's a problem right now. And I heard you say had been to fitness classes. I go to fitness classes. They're at least the ones I go to are full
Yeah.
already, right? And it's only going to get worse. And so somehow I feel like that needs to be a consideration. And like, if you're going to expand on the rec center, how are you going to do that? I think the need's in the next 10 years, right? Like to do that expansion. At least that's my opinion. Maybe Amanda could say more on that. You guys need office space too. I mean, if you want to share some thoughts, but I'm feeling like this could, like, how are we going to get the money for that when we have money tied up in a bigger thing? So that whole rec center thing, it is a hit. There's a ton of people there, and just trying to keep an open mind about what the needs are there, I think that's been missing a little bit in the discussion. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I didn't mean to do that.
Okay. You know, if you looking at the rec center, we are packed all the time. Depends on who you ask, but if you ask my staff, they'll each have their own wants and needs. But if you look at the overall building, we need court space, we need fitness space. If you ask my aquatic staff, they need another pool. But if you look at field space, we need baseball fields.
Mhm.
So, honestly, the expansion is definitely needed, but where do you draw that line? I couldn't tell you, but we're packed all the time. I know that we're actually expanding into the gymnasiums of the schools. We're expanding into the schools. We're trying to maximize all the space that we have. And right now we're taking our programs into the schools in the afternoons and leaving that gym space open so we can have space for our programs or for you guys, our gym members. So, I mean, we're definitely trying to maneuver what we can and move what we can. And, I mean, it's definitely a puzzle, if you will. So, our fitness space is definitely not what we need, and we're using our gym space for our classrooms or for our fitness classrooms. And I mean, it's definitely let's move here to move here to move here. And so yeah, the north space is a space that we can expand to for the gymnasium. The fitness space we could expand as well. The other space that we need is classroom space. I mean, we don't have any classroom space to be able to host classes. You know, if we have a meeting room that we need space for, we have a party room, and that's also used for meeting rooms, parties. If you've ever come to the rec center on a Saturday, I mean, it's booked Saturday from when the pool opens at 12 or open swim. It's booked from parties from 12 to when we close at 8 o'clock. So, and it's booked solid for birthday parties. So, if you could have a meeting space where you could have multiple parties going on, and then also maybe a meeting room, that could also be wonderful. But unfortunately, having one meeting room is definitely not sufficient. So, you know, it's a wonderful facility, but have we outgrown it? Maybe, but we're not necessarily quite there. But depends on the time of day. But we're definitely ready to expand. But we've got some open space as well throughout the day. So maximizing that space is what we're currently going through now, and we're getting there. But we could definitely expand already.
Do you think in the next 10 years you would feel like you would need to expand an expansion?
Yeah, but I also need ball fields as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
ball fields we're already. I mean, if we add one, we can add one more team right now, and we're maxed. So that's kind of where we're at. Also, the soccer fields and football fields. I mean, thank goodness we have the rec center and Wagner fields. That has been a blessing to where we have been able to, allow more teams in and have us expand come in, and utilize those fields, but, right now the ball fields are capped. We lost the elementary school this year, so right now we can only have T-ball out there, so, we're definitely needing some more space, so Richardson would be ideal. And our swim lesson program is also huge and booked and packed. We're running on a wait list right now as well for that, so, which is all great things, but if I had my choice, that court space is huge. And then, of course, that meeting room space within the area, I would love to expand, because the growth in that area could also lead to some great revenue for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Well, that brings up a question for me because Richardson would have fewer shade structures, but would there be an ability, I guess because pool parties were like the cool thing to have. I think they still are. Is there also, I mean, how much, is there going to be infrastructure at either proposed pool right now that would support like birthday parties and pool parties specifically? Or would it just have to be like,
They had them at the Old Town Pool. I mean,
Okay.
there were no facilities. It was after hours.
okay, so there'd be an avenue
Like
to
the
have
pool
parties.
closed at
Okay.
7, and you could, like for birthday parties at the outdoor pool.
Okay.
So they definitely had that. There were no like facilities really for it. It was just
And I believe, I've seen so many birthday parties at the new at Town Park with the splash pad. I mean, that's being fully utilized. There's the birthday
Okay.
parties there all day long on Saturday and Sunday. So hopefully it picked up a little of the slack. I'm feeling from what you're saying, I mean, 10 years is none too soon. It sounds to me like it's over capacity already, certainly. But with new developments happening, I mean, the people are going to be here before the rec center has the capacity to take on new members. And at what point are the members paying for memberships unhappy because they can't use the facility? So I think, 10 years is a stretch to think that's the first that will really be obviously needed. It sounds like it's obviously needed now, but it's also not on the current list that's on the focus, except for, Richardson, if it goes ahead, is definitely providing ball fields and summer aquatics. Absolutely swim programs could happen all summer long at an outdoor facility.
I mean, that used to be the only option
Yeah,
in town.
Yeah.
Your kids did swim lessons in the summer when
Yeah,
the
that's-
pool was open. And,
that's typical.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another topic I wanted to touch, if you guys are okay. I heard comments last night about just the timeline of the pool, the two pools, right? And just, is it going to be 27 or 28? Is an extra year going to matter? I think I kind of agree in the grand scheme of things. If it's 27, 28, right, it doesn't really matter. But I also would challenge that same question. Is an extra year or two going to matter with the ball fields, right? Is there a way to make ball fields happen that might be on a slightly, like a year or two later timeline, and not go the financing option? Is there a no finance option for ball fields? Sarah Lincoln sent at least me, Carolyn, and Lauren. I don't know if everyone received it. And I believe she sent the board too, that very scenario of looking at, could you do an outdoor pool at Wagner? And then follow that with ball fields, because as we've heard, ball fields, there is a need there, right? Even though it's priority number 13, I think everyone's coming around to the fact that ball fields are important to this town and that there is a need to have ball fields. So I would, I guess, would challenge that too is that from what I saw, from what Sarah put together, I think maybe that's something that needs to be explored a little bit more. Is what does a no finance option where you have pool first, because that, Arboretum pool, but then you have ball fields following literally like over the next 3-4 years right after that, 3-4-5 years. So again, just another way to think about not tying up our money. So to your needs too, which it almost sounds like courts might even be higher priority, right? Like, is there a way to keep things flexible and open so that when, like, it sounds like there's already a need, that you actually have money available to tackle that, right? So I don't know if anyone has any comments on that. That's just something that I think is worth considering. And maybe it's a recommendation to the board to look into that. Maybe it's not, but just wanted to bring up that point.
I think you're right to bring it up because it's never been even proposed that it be phased in a way that the pool happens first and the baseball field second, except I believe Chris expressly said last night, shut the door on that. Mm-hmm. He said there's no way he could recommend that Richardson have a pool only as phase one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying an outdoor pool at Wagner.
Oh.
So that Wagner vision, right? Complete that Arboretum and outdoor pool at Wagner. That's the vision for Wagner, right? We want to get that. It's central to the town. It's kind of the heartbeat of town. Obviously, there's a lot of activity there. Get that done first, because that's priority 1 and 2 from what, at least the past, year that Port and the board have been talking, and then go right into getting the money for the ball fields. But you don't have to take out financing for that.
I think for me personally, at this point, I am no longer in favor of doing the pool at Wagner. So I guess that's where I sit on that. And yes.
Can you expand a little more?
Well, I think it goes back to the space options at Wagner, like the possibilities at Richardson. I do think, obviously, depending on what all they choose, that is a more exciting pool, I suppose, than what we could put at Wagner. I don't think it's realistic to put other courts or stuff like where the soccer fields are at Wagner. That just doesn't make sense to me, as opposed to just like expanding on the existing building. I guess that.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that I wasn't talking about putting courts there. I was just talking about the indoor pool. And I think I mentioned there were multiple options for the indoor pool. I'm not saying that an indoor pool has to be on this. You could preserve the soccer fields right now. You could expand north of the rec center. So I just want to be clear on what I was saying. Okay. But regardless, anyone else have any comments on that? I just think it's an option that hasn't been explored yet, and I think it's worth exploring that no finance option where we can still get the ball fields, but again, you're not tying up that money. That $2 million a year could be used to help fund an expansion at the rec center or disc golf at Jaskowski or something else, right? If you have the money tied up in a loan, that's not an option.
So like I said, I'm thinking about this of like, I don't have a strong thought on the financing side of things, but just to does 1 to 2 years matter for ball fields on that end of things? No. So I'm open to exploring it in that way, but I think it's up to the board to decide like in the financial, if it's worth exploring the finance mechanisms of it and phasing things differently in terms of financing it differently.
Okay, awesome. I had another point about Richardson, and Keith, maybe we can look at a slide.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of comments at the end of the night that people kind of coalesced around this idea that Richardson would check all the boxes and some. And so if we could look at that Richardson slide with the purple dots, I I think this comment and this slide was maybe a little bit misleading as to which boxes are being checked at Richardson, and I'll just point out a couple of them. So I heard from Administrator Kirk last night that the natural areas is not really a box that's being checked at Richardson, although it's here. The amphitheater, Lazy River, playground, and dive blocks are all checked here. And from what the funding option was, none of those are included in that. So it's showing what's possible, but it's not showing what you're gonna get. And I think this brings me into like,
Which part? I'm sorry to interrupt.
oh, pardon?
What was the list that you were specifically calling out for shown but not in funding?
So the purple circles where it says Richardson MVP, there's all these boxes that it's like, oh, we're checking so many boxes. And I can say from what we're talking about with this 38 million, Administrator Kirk said natural areas aren't really, you wouldn't call that natural areas. Maybe there's some bike running trails. An amphitheater was not part of the proposal. We can talk about the Lazy River. But playground, that was not part of the proposal, and diving blocks was not part of the proposal, and I don't even know if a concession area was. So my point is
I mean, yes, those are that's definitely highlights the full Richardson plan.
right,
Yeah,
but that's not what you're gonna get
right.
in this plan. So it's a little bit misleading when you see, oh my gosh, we're gonna get all these things, and really we're not talking about a lot of these things. And so honestly, watching this meeting, I was very confused about what we are actually getting for the 38 million. And I think this makes it even kind of adds to my point. So I don't want to be shortchanged on the pool, because that is clearly what I heard last night, is that the pool is a top priority. There's no diving blocks. There was a big discussion about that. So I guess.
Well, I think that there's diving blocks, not diving boards.
Sorry, diving board.
Right.
Yeah, diving board. What I heard last night, in one instance, there was a pool that had 8 lap lanes, a kiddie spray area, water slides, and a lazy river. No lights in and around the pool. But then in in another instance, it was like, well, if the bid comes in high, we're gonna have to cut water slides, deck space, shade structures, spray features, a lazy river, and dive blocks. And so the same goes for the ball fields. What I heard last night, well, we've already cut from 6 to 4 ball fields. The playground is out. I heard a lot of value engineering. Okay, we might have to go to soft surface parking lot. Curb and gutters might have to change. There was a backstop versus chain link fence discussion. Still, I guess, a debate about turf versus grass. I couldn't quite understand that. Maybe eliminating a custom scoreboard. So, probably my biggest concern is that there definitely seemed like a lean towards Richardson last night, but as just a citizen of the community, I'm very concerned about what are you getting, right? What are we getting in this? I had no idea what actually you were getting, because there were 2 different, at least, pool proposals being discussed. And I think the town deserves to know what they are getting and to have an accurate bid.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I agree that we deserve to know what we're getting in an accurate bid, but I'm not sure we're at that stage in the process. And I think that's why we're here, is to say diving board is important, diving blocks in a competition pool is important. And so I think that I think this is where we put it on the Christmas list, and we put them high up on the Christmas list, and that's how I'm approaching it, I guess.
And I think we've done a lot of that work as a port committee, working through the Wagner pool. And so I think that whatever is decided by the trustees, whether it's Wagner or Richardson, that I think the board needs to fully complete construction documents for either one, and get a bid before any decisions are made. So that the town knows what they are getting and how much it's going to cost. Because I would feel uncomfortable not knowing what is in that plan. You know, is what we thought going to happen actually going to happen? Is this, are all this pool and all these, or, all these things that we're being told we're getting, are those going to get value engineered or cut out in the end, and then it's not what we thought we were getting, and it's not meeting the needs, right? I have concerns about that. So I don't, it's up to the board to decide which way they want to go, but I think that one of the two, that construction documents should be fully completed and have a bid before any decisions are made. So the town knows what they're getting.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but it was my understanding, correct me if that's not what you got, but it was my understanding that the pool area was at 60% because it was paused to discuss the Wagner option, but that from the parking lot up, that was 100% or 90%. So like the concession stand, the parking, so the parking is laid out, but maybe switched from all asphalt to maybe dirt, that sort of thing. So I think I agree with what you're saying about the pool amenities.
Yeah.
But from what I understood, the field amenities were in the plans as listed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was
I
what
think
you're
I'm talking about the pool.
Okay.
Right, to flesh out that pool a little bit more, because I don't know what is included or not. I did not understand what you were getting for the money.
Okay.
But like, yeah.
I think it's a good point to bring up because whether it's it proceeds as a COP or a bond issue, it has to be clear and accurate to the public, or else you get so much blowback, especially if it goes through as a COP and they're using something like this as saying, well, this is the document presented to us to sell the concept that the town's going to make this big financing decision. It's risky not being more clear. That's kind of it comes across as a sales document. I agree with that.
And this is a huge purchase. Like, this is the biggest potential purchase in town history that we're talking about, right? So I feel like the town deserves to know what they're getting out of this. And from a port committee, I think, to your point, Eleanor, we've already kind of gone through that process about what our needs are, and I think that came up last night too, just with the diving board thing. That was kind of a point there that got missed, but and I would hope, that we could be participants in that process if there are cuts that need to be made, or if, just to be a part of that process. But I think first you have to pick a direction and go through the construction document process and get a bid on this, so we know if this is actually even going to come in on bid or not, or what the trade-offs are.
Yeah. Once again, not disagreeing with you, but I think one of the holdups and one of the sticking points is that the board needs a recommendation from you to discuss, regardless of which direction it goes, because in order to complete whichever pool construction documents, it's $650,000, right? And so that's kind of that's one of the reasons that, and you guys know this, right? That's one of the reasons that this whole conversation started happening. So I think your feedback on what those amenities would be in either place, those are, well-founded recommendations. But I think a thing that needs to be agreed upon is what level of engagement do you guys have for a pool at either place? And if X doesn't happen at this place, then Y definitely needs to happen in this place, if that makes sense. Because I don't think that we, speaking for myself, but I don't think that we can or should put in construction bid or document bids, design bids for one, find out it's not going to happen, and then put in bids to complete at the other place, because then we're at 1.2, 1.3 million dollars just for drawings.
And that could very well happen. I mean, if we're being honest, and, you know, I've thought about that too. What if you go through one and you realize, oh, this isn't going to happen? Is it worth it to go pay the other 650, 700K to do the other? And maybe it is, because you're spending a small amount. You're spending 1 million for a 38 million potentially greater than that project. Maybe it is worth it to explore both options. Right?
I mean, I just don't think that's how it's done, I guess. I would see that as a waste of money. Like, I think the board needs to make a decision and go that way. I think maybe I'm being naive, but they have a rough idea of the cost, and I don't think we're going to end up with like a tiny rectangular pool and that's all we can afford. Like, I think within reason we will be able to get some decent amenities there. I don't know that we'll be able to get everything. That's probably not going to happen. But I don't think it will come back in such a way that, like, it's absolutely not possible to do it at Richardson or not. I don't know.
Well, I have a suggestion that might, move us forward in terms of just producing something, a recommendation for the trustees, and that is a recommendation to move forward with construction drawings and a bid for a pool that includes all these amenities, the ones we've already identified with the as we develop the pool at Wagner, and then look through the pieces and parts at Richardson and either put those on the list to include these amenities or leave them off. In other words, we're prioritizing the amenities at a pool. And we could do that whether it be Richardson or Wagner. I think they're probably looking for us for a consensus on one or the other, and maybe we can't do that, but at least we could take the elements at Wagner, which we all agreed on, and make those priority at Richardson, and then pick through the other things that we think are currently on the drawings and prioritize those. So, maybe we don't put a lazy river on the priorities, or the slides as priorities, put on everything we already identified at Wagner, and then the others that we think are the next priorities. Carl?
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt you guys so much tonight, but I think Chris was given pretty clear direction to do a price analysis for a deep end and a diving board at Richardson. And it was my understanding, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, right? But it was my understanding that that is the most important thing at either, to include in either pool, that 0 entry / kiddie area plus a deep end. And it seemed like the value analysis or the cost analysis of digging that deep end / putting a diving board area in would then start cutting the slides and the extra splash pads and the extra little playground option at a possible Wagner pool without having to go to construction drawings. So are you guys thinking about adding any of the stuff from the Wagner concept to? I'm sorry, I said that in reverse. Are you guys wanting to add anything from the Richardson pool area to the Wagner design, or are you only worried about making sure that the Wagner design has a deep end and a pool and everything else can go as long as that is correct?
I think you mean Richardson.
Did I say it backwards twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, to prioritize all the elements that are in the Wagner design, to prioritize those at Richardson.
So a deep end and a diving board diving blocks for laps, a shallow entry / kiddie pool / recreation area,
An 8-lane swimming
8
pool.
lane and 8 lap lanes.
Right.
Would
And
I-
anything else that has to go at the possible Richardson design needs to go.
It's a lower priority.
Whereas at Wagner, that design you guys are okay with.
Well, do you think it would be reasonable to assume that when they get new designs for the pool, that we would see them? I mean, it seems like that's sort of always what happens with parks is it's brought to port and like, I mean, so if we say go forward with Richardson, right? Then and maybe I'm wrong, but I would guess in a month or two or however long it takes, you'll come back to us and say, here's what we're thinking for the pool. This is what we can afford. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe we could recommend.
I
If it were
think
me, I would make a recommendation to move forward with Richardson and ask that Port has the opportunity to give input on the pool design.
that's the process. Sorry, Keith, to interrupt. That's the process. I think the sticking point is that at 60%, and I may be talking above my pay grade, right? I might not be understanding exactly what's going on, but at 60%, there's not a lot extra that can be done without a significant cost to redesign, versus what Chris was talking about was a cost analysis of, hey, how much would it cost to build a deep end, and then with the designs that we have, what could we take away so that when we do send it to the design phase, those other amenities are not in the design. We now have the understanding that we want a deep end and a dive.
Yeah, and I'm not
Does that
saying
make sense?
redesign it. I'm just saying if it comes down to like slides versus a lazy river, if that's what we can afford, or digging 12 feet for the diving board is crazy expensive, or maybe not possible there because of the water table. I feel like that could be a real possibility. You know, just sort of those high level, like,
But at this point, I kind of feel like you need a redesign. Like what we have right now is
Can you zoom in on that?
what we have right now is this resort pool design with this other just sketch. And what are we doing there? What's the vision? Like, I got very confused last night about what
I mean,
what is it, you know? And I think too, if we're just saying we want Wagner copy paste, then I really think we need to also revisit Wagner because it's cheaper too, right? Like, why are we paying more for the same thing? So I think it's really important to know what you're getting and looking at the cost difference between the two. And I think that honestly maybe actually goes back to starting over on this whole thing.
There is a slide last night that had the 8-lane pool overlaid on this Richardson plan. Maybe we can
yeah,
look
I
at
mean,
that.
I see it
That's
as
a better reference.
that slide plus the other corner of
Yeah,
that one, which
yeah.
showed the toddler
Um,
tower and the slides.
I think, I'm not sure this is worth pointing out, but I think it's part of the misunderstanding or the problems in communication is that, and this is beating a dead horse perhaps, but as the port committee was working along to identify the amenities that we felt were most valuable and most needed at Wagner, this resort pool didn't keep pace with what was being identified. And I think that created skepticism in some parties because up until last night, it was always plopped on there as a resort pool without integrating what had been the effort and the conclusions that the port had spent time on. So I think it could be a win-win at this point, at least for the next steps, because everything's so uncertain. You know, we should all be thinking about the plan B anyhow, but as a next step, it could be worthwhile to just ask the trustees to integrate to, you know, what did you just call it? The Wagner pool, just overlay it on the Richardson plan, saying these are the amenities that the port feels are important. And last night was the first time that they really acknowledged that they're in this drawing. It's the first time we saw a drawing with an 8-lane pool at Richardson. So I think maybe we can just further that by saying, you know, if our suggestion is to develop drawings and proceed towards a bid, that we overlay the amenities that we've identified at Wagner onto the Richardson plan. I mean, I think we're
I guess-
repeating the
I
same
think you just
thing,
gotta,
right?
Well, do you not, I guess, what I'm seeing has Wagner plus. Like, do you feel like this is missing anything that we
Well,
want to?
aside from the diving area, no.
Yeah,
It doesn't have, this still had a separate kiddie area, right? Wasn't that a
It does,
darkened circle somewhere
yeah. it's
over
on
to the
other
right?
side.
So it does
Okay.
incorporate, there's no shade in this, which was in the Wagner plan, but
I think, well, I think there's some, like, I think
think-
these are command,
yeah,
like,
those
there's
are-
definitely some,
I think there's like,
but who knows?
Yeah, there's like little, those are
those look like
Okay,
little
those are
yeah.
pavilions.
soft
Or-
yeah.
tents, and then the X's to the top left of the picture, I believe, are solid structures.
Well, I mean, I think that's a way it could be, the recommendation could be stated pretty simply. It's just, you know, that the amenities at Wagner were identified as the top priorities.
And what's the cost difference between the two?
Yeah, and in order to get a cost, you got to complete the construction documents and you got to take it to bid and get a cost, right?
So it's
And
about,
so- and
yeah, it's
so-
about doubling the expense.
Yeah, and if that's all we want is just to copy and paste Wagner, I think it's worth looking at why are we doing the pool at Richardson, right? We have a pool at Wagner that in May the trustees voted to proceed with, right? It's ready to go. You can get it done in 2 years. And then, you know, we've also got other needs too, like Amanda had brought up. And so I'm just kind of questioning if all we're trying to do is copy paste, why are we paying more for the same thing at Richardson when we can have it at Wagner?
Well, I think it's been identified by people, you know, the public, the trustees, and people on this committee that the preference is to proceed at Richardson and still get those amenities. It seems like we're past the point of revisiting it, not right now, because down the line, it could be the plan B that we go back to. I wouldn't object to spending the money to develop construction drawings for both. I think that's a small expense to pay to reduce uncertainty to a certain extent.
I actually really like that idea.
I guess,
Because you want to be able to have, you want to know what you're getting and how much it's going to cost and be able to take a look at it and decide, okay, it's going to cost this much. Is this what we want? How are we going to fund it? Like all these questions, you know, what are the trade-offs? You know, what are we gaining? What are we losing? And until you have those hard bids, you don't know that answer. Until you have those construction documents fleshed out, until you have the design, like this is just a sketch. It's not, you know, Port hasn't seen it. We haven't, you know, staff hasn't gone through it. 1.3 million, 1 million, whatever, for the biggest purchase in town history may be worth it.
What is the difference between a cost analysis, the information that you get in a full all-out bid, and a cost analysis? Again, in terms of,
You're essentially looking at like back of the napkin versus line item.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably not practical to run parallel efforts for 100% construction drawings and a detailed bid. You
and I
know,
don't think town staff or
right.
the board, I don't think.
Yeah,
this
I
is
don't
my
think
opinion,
that's,
I don't think they are gonna recommend that you do both. I think
Yeah,
They
you
want
probably,
direct-
for
direction
what construction drawings or the bid. I'm saying maybe the analysis part of it, the back of the napkin, is worth suggesting. I think running parallel through the bid process is definitely impractical because that's just too much duplication of effort. We know Wagner's going to look a lot less because of utilizing the infrastructure that's there. So I'm not saying I think that's a necessary thing, but I'm also not sure what purpose it serves because we know Wagner's going to be far less expensive.
Well, and Chris did, unless I misunderstood him, he did clarify that last night that the infrastructure there is not sufficient for a pool. That it's
Right.
sufficient for a splash pad. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure it is still cheaper. Don't get me wrong,
The infrastructure
but
where?
at Wagner, like the sizing of the pumps and the pipes were intended for a splash pad,
Wow.
not
Come on.
pool. So that would
I think
that
they
would
were
have to be
sufficient. I think, I could be wrong, but I think what I heard was they were not sufficient for our design. Whether it would, even for an indoor pool, it would not be sufficient, I
Right.
think he said.
Yeah.
But it's still getting, he just said you had to add another, unit or something. I don't remember what he said. You
It
just
was
have
a
to add,
pump house,
what?
a new pump house,
A new pump house.
Expanded.
But you could
pipes.
still use the piping there. You just had to add a little bit more to meet that need.
I guess I like. Welcome, Lauren. Hi. I don't think we're gonna have 100% consensus. So I don't. Maybe Carl can weigh in on this. Like, I know that we can make a motion, and if someone seconds it, not everyone has to say yes to that motion. And then I assume, can there be a second motion that
You guys can have as many motions as you
opposes?
like.
Or, okay.
Yeah, so maybe
so
it would
can I okay, so with our committee, at least what I heard from Callie, and maybe we can get input from the other group, is that we should pick one option, or the board should pick one option. But I think we also said is that if that option is okay, so you pick one option, you do construction documents, you get a bid. If that bid comes out and it is not what the group was thinking, or there needs to be further discussion, what I heard from Callie was potentially then construction documents could be considered for the other option. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's not crazy amounts of money, right? So if one option you go through and you're like, this just isn't cutting it, you could pursue the other option, right?
Yeah, I think Wagner's always going to be a fallback or another location just because there's so much uncertainty about this financing
Right.
and the whole financial analysis. It's really underdeveloped at this point. So I think we have to assume at any point if the trustees decide to pursue Richardson, I think there's no reason that I think the board isn't totally open to shut it down if some big surprise comes along. Like the interest rates go up or whatever, then it should be, we're lucky that there are other alternatives locations. But I think it would help trustees at this point. They have said they're waiting for a recommendation from us. So I think the most productive thing we can do at this point is to recommend that they move ahead with construction drawings for Richardson Aquatics facility that incorporates everything that the port had already identified at Wagner
And get a bid.
and get a bid.
Yep.
We have some audience members, and I'm wondering too if we should take public comment before because it seems like we're starting to get to the heart of it, and I think we should listen to folks before we dive into that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You feel like you didn't leave me because it's all of me.
Hold that thought,
Yeah,
Callie. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Would anyone like to make public comment before we make a motion?
Well, not knowing what has already been said, and I kind of sent my message with my, hey, I'm going to be late message. It's interesting because the whole time I've been on board with the Wagner pool and getting it done as quick as possible. And after the conversation last night and kind of pinning down that the pool could be done in a reasonable time frame at Richardson along with the ball fields, I feel like it's the best option for a lot of reasons to go with Richardson, because not only is it giving us, you know, like Trustee Wing said last night, checking a lot of the boxes, a lot of the things on that survey that the town wants and the town is interested in, we can really check off, and not necessarily check off, but like contribute to with Richardson Park. The other piece of it that I see as being sort of important here, and stepping back and looking at the big picture, is in order to finish Town Park, we need baseball fields to supplement. And so to make all of these other pieces, this sort of all of these other cogs in the machine, we have to do all of these things. And so going forward with Richardson Park not only is getting us the pool, it's also getting us more ball fields, which will in turn allow us to finish Town Park at some point in the future. And so I feel like all those pieces kind of coming together make going forward with Richardson Park probably the most reasonable thing. I agree that the financing piece of it, as was discussed last night, and I'm sure as was discussed tonight, is huge, and that's a big decision to be made. And I'm grateful that I'm on this committee and not on that board, because y'all get to make that decision. But I think that there will be, there's, you know, the Newell Farm will have a piece of it, you know, be able to be in the part of the puzzle, even a little bit of money towards Jaskowski. And we had actually talked last night too about, just sidebar, May had made the suggestion that we maybe at least keep one of the ball fields at Town Park, which would be great as well, because I think that will increase ball fields more, because if we get rid of 2 and add 4, we're really only gaining 2 fields. And so I think all of those things were discussed last night, and I'm sure some of that's been discussed tonight. But that's my suggestion is, or my vote is, to keep moving forward with Richardson, barring any major interest rate hikes or whatever that looks like.
And we did, just so you know, made a motion before you got here to continue to move forward with the
Oh yeah, yeah.
That.
I thought, okay, I didn't even know that we were having that.
Well,
Yeah, I would have agreed with that as well.
We kept that at the top of the list.
Yep.
So. Did anyone know public comment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think sort of the beauty of what we get to do here is make the suggestion of what what we think is in the best interest of the town from what we envision wanting, and whether they go with a COP or a bond. I don't know that that's, I mean, we're not suggesting either way, correct? That's not what we're being asked to do.
I mean,
I don't,
that's
I
my
think we can
assumption.
forward recommendations.
Yeah, I think we're here to make
For
recommendations.
the financing, or which project to go with? I think we're here to recommend what project, like what direction to go in terms of project.
Yeah, so we discussed that earlier. I mean, you guys can give recommendations on whatever you want, but it's not necessarily your purview as a advisory committee to recommend budgetary items. You can give a recommendation, you can make comments, but the board can take those or leave those as they can everything else. The weight of your recommendations on infrastructure and design have a higher priority than committee recommendations to budgetary items.
That makes sense. It's just the way it's presented, nobody can ignore the fact that financing is driving the
Yeah,
whole
and
thing.
this project
and
is-
Chris's presentation was financing or no financing, so it's impossible to completely leave that out of
Right.
our
So-
thoughts.
So, not to add my own thoughts, but I think you guys would agree with me, and Keith disagree with me if this is not correct. If you recommend Richardson, you are recommending financing.
Right, it's implicit.
Right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
implicit.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to go further than that, because you guys all understand that if you recommend Richardson, it can't be built as such. If you don't recommend Richardson, the pool could be built at Wagner. If you say that the pool could be built at Wagner, you are saying you don't want financing. That's implicit, like you guys said, in that recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's a way to simplify our recommendation. I also think Sarah made a really good point. Our efforts, as a committee might be well directed towards thinking about a plan B that isn't isn't a recommendation right now, but depending if they're moving forward with a COP or a bond issue, we definitely should have some plan B ideas, and I think that is maybe more of our role.
Well, and I kind of feel like if we recommend Richardson, then Wagner is the backup plan.
And
I mean,
I feel like that's not something that needs to be decided tonight, right? Like,
Right.
Right,
If,
but I
we
do
do,
feel like
if it
we
comes
have
to
that.
that, then that will be a discussion.
Yeah.
Then, if they choose to do a bond, that's all hypothetical 6 months from now, I guess.
Yeah, if we recommend Richardson, it's the financing is built into it.
We don't necessarily have to recommend financing, though. We're recommending, or what we just talked about was, we're recommending to work on the construction documents and get a bid, and then let the trustees decide how to make that happen, right?
Well, I mean,
You're
I
not
guess I'm
we're not
recommending like
Huh?
I am recommending financing because if you don't, then we're back to the original. The pool happens in 10 years. Like, so to me, it's one and the same.
Yeah, so you're both right. You're right.
We're both
That-
right, Carolyn.
So, so if you,
win.
from my understanding, it would be that if you recommend Richardson to continue with the plans for the aquatic center,
Yep.
it will then have to be decided by the board. How are we going to pay for that?
Yeah.
And then it will go out to bid for the information to come back to say, okay, are we going to pay for this
Or-
through a bond or a COP? So,
Or is it
or is it too
or
much?
is it too much? And then
And
you
the
just say
board doesn't-
scrap it. We're going to go back to Wagner.
Right, and then the
That's what
board
I'm
doesn't go
saying
back.
is that we're not necessarily recommending financing. We're recommending to get to the point where you can decide: are you doing bond? Are you doing COP? Or are you saying scrap it? This is a bad idea for the town, right? Like that's what I think is the difference, right? So we're not recommending financing. We're just recommending like to pick a path and pursue that path and see where it leads. And then once you have more clear information, then you can make a decision, right?
So I think I can sum this up.
Sum it up.
All right, and this we'll translate this to a motion because I'm going to jump on that opportunity. A motion to pursue construction documents for Richardson, establishing a decision point upon receipt of said construction documents and bid, and then internal to that, within that decision point, is recommending that the board establish certain decision criteria to determine financing, bond, no financing. At which point we then go either literally left or right. And if we're going one way, then we're full steam in that direction. Or if we're going the other way, we are then tapping into our contingencies. And the implied task there is to have said contingency on the back burner ready to go, which I think we've all agreed is Wagner.
Basically, the guidance would be, or the motion would be to continue pursuing Richardson Park.
Yes. I mean, for me, that's.
That,
I
think
don't
that's
think it
today's
needs to be
decision.
overcomplicated.
I think
Yeah.
we should address the amenities because of that miscommunication for a long time. That these amenities plus a diving board as a priority.
Yeah, I would put that in my report that you guys, implicit in your decision,
Yeah.
if that's what
and
you
Chris-
vote on,
yeah,
is to say
he said-
whatever else needs to go, there has to be a diving board in it.
Non-negotiables, right? These are the port non-negotiables are,
Yeah.
which I think should not be a surprise because I think Port and the trustees agreed on those non-negotiables too, right? Like we all had consensus at one point on what those non-negotiables were. So it's those non-negotiables.
Yeah. Are you saying like lap lanes? And
So
Right.
it's
board?
the 8
The
lap lanes,
amenities.
the diving board, the zero entry or
A
Yeah,
kid
just
zone.
kiddie,
Yeah.
like all those.
I would encourage when they do the bid and have those numbers to maybe have some moment to look at what does this look like financing wise without the giant slide thing? What does this look like?
So the way those
without
usually,
the lazy river?
the way, once again, Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way it usually works, I think, is that when a bid is put out, they say, this is what we want, 100%. Give me a line item for what this project is going to cost. And then staff will say, okay, we're not spending this amount of money. We're going to get rid of this and this and this and this and this.
Value
Can you
engineering.
guys do this? Can you guys do this list for the cost that we have evaluated that it would be?
Right. I just think, yeah, there is some non-negotiables, but then I think there is some fluff in there too, looking at the drawings and the different things that they've been talking about. And so it would be interesting to kind of know what all's included in that and what it might look like financing wise without some of those.
That would come back, unless I'm mistaken, that would come back with a bid.
Perfect.
It comes back as an itemized bid. This is how much 37 chairs cost. This is how much a diving board costs. This is how much a lazy river costs.
Yeah.
And then staff would then be able to whittle that down to go towards the cost that the board would be comfortable with. And that's what we would do with a Wagner. That's what we would do with ball fields. That's what we did with Town Park, right? We said, hey, we want these things. These things are non-negotiable. here's the plan that you guys had. Is there anything that we can do to get it back down to the cost that was acceptable?
I feel like our non-negotiables, I guess I'm just, and my concern is that some of our non-negotiables are going to become negotiable when we get the bid back, right? So just being really firm on like, and I don't think we were asking a lot with the Wagner pool. I mean, it's bare bones, but I'm concerned, and we won't know till we get a bid, right? But just making it very clear that these are actually our non-negotiables.
I think it
and
was
you
pretty
can,
clear from the meeting last night, and I think, as you guys said, a couple of the trustees agreed, right? 8 lanes with removable bollards, or whatever they're called in a pool, not bollards, but
Blocks.
blocks.
As long as
no,
we're
not
all-
blocks, the
Lane
lane lines.
Yeah.
right? So eight lanes, shallow entry, deep end with a diving board. Period.
Kiddie pool.
Well, that's the
kiddie
that's
pool
the zero
slash
entry
shower,
slash
Oh, I
The
thought,
zero
isn't
entry-
the zero entry the other side
So
of this
in-
same pool?
that the zero entry. So this thing in the north, the upper right section, that is both a kiddie pool and a zero entry.
Oh,
It would
okay,
serve
I
both purposes.
misunderstood. I thought he was
No, there was-
pointing to a circular separate.
Oh, well,
There is
that was
also a separate.
that's billed as like a playscape that's in water.
Oh,
that
that's a
there's a
splash
bunch.
pad.
It's
Well,
not a
it's
splash
like
pad.
the thing
It's
at
not a
the
splash
rec
pad.
It's like the toddler
Like 8
area. at the
inches.
Yeah.
water.
So there's amenities
Shallow.
in that could be
Right.
removed.
Right.
That from what so there's a bunch of amenities in that, like slides and whatever else goes in there, like in the indoor pool, that could be taken out, and it would just be basically like kind of a circular open space that's 6 inches deep that has like a sawhorse to climb on or something like that, instead of having whatever else was in there in the original design. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I misunderstood that,
And I misunderstood what you were saying
okay.
as well.
Well, I wanted to bring this up just because, and I don't know if anybody else feels strongly about it, that we had separated the kiddie pool at Wagner for the reasons of contamination. And so what if these are separate?
At this
Well,
point,
they're not separated now because there is an alternative toddler play area on this plan.
Okay.
Which
but
could
there's
be-
still this,
I mean, there's-
this zero entry for young, if it's being used by
It's going to be.
babies, it's going to be contaminated and take the whole pool offline.
But the argument was that it's also used in
rehab.
classes and rehab.
For mobility
Yeah.
challenged people.
Yeah.
But does it need to be open to the bigger pool, or is there any reason that it can't be
I mean, if
separated?
I think it's a necessary for the mobility thing because you want to do water walking, you need to you go in the zero
To have
entry.
access to both areas.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need a water connection between the zero entry into the spot where you want to actually actively work out for somebody who has limited mobility.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I agree with that.
before we move on the motion, because we have a motion on the table, right? From
Or
Michael.
will you
Oh, I
no,
can-
I think
No, I
I
think
can make,
Lauren's.
Lauren summed it up for me.
well, I simplified it down. Toddler speaks sometimes.
But I was just
Great.
saying before, like you made the motion, Michael, right?
I did not make the motion officially.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just saying, hey, this is what this would flow as.
Summarize things.
Yeah.
No one has made a motion.
Okay. I'm just wondering if we should hear from public comment before we.
Do we have any
Oh, I
more?
think we.
Is there any other
Did you
public
guys have
comment?
public comment?
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say typically it's open. They give all their comments and then you guys digest them. Usually there's like one time it's open for
Yeah,
public, right?
Right.
So-
Yeah, we kind of
So-
did open it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because technically this agenda item is about parks as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
The discussion has been focused on the pool, but
That's true.
it still could be opened for other comments concerning parks.
Oh.
Would you like to make your public comment regarding parks? Sorry, I have it. Carolyn?
First of all, I want to say again how important the pool is. So you all know that, but
Sorry,
I want to say
Jane,
that
could you state your name real quick?
Jane Valier, I'm at 980 Mountain Avenue. And the comment I wanted to make is, as a member of the Wagner family, I want to thank you all for all the work that you've done on the Arboretum and the support that you've given for that piece of property, because it's, of course, very special to me, but I think it's also very special to the citizens of Berthoud. And that's the reason that property was sold to the town of Berthoud was for the citizens to be able to enjoy it. So I am part of several people, I think, that are not very happy with the way it looks right now, because I don't think it reflects well on Berthoud. But I'm very happy that you are supporting the Arboretum, and I do hope that the board will support that also. But I appreciate the effort that you put into that. So I just wanted to make that comment, and also to say that we got to have a pool. So, you know, I don't know where it's going to end up, but it's important to keep that as a top priority because the kids in Berkeley deserve it. So, thank you.
Ish, we motion time.
Okay. Do you want me to do it? I can do it.
She's got the shorter version.
You're the
so-
chair. Good.
I would make a motion to proceed with plans and encourage the board to continue with plans for Richardson Park and the outdoor pool with the items that we have recommended, including the 8 lanes and the diving board. I would kind of just leave it at that. That would
And when you say plans, you mean construction documents and bid?
well, is that where we are yet,
Yeah.
or would it be
Well, you have to do
construction
design first,
documents?
I guess.
Design,
Well, yeah.
Design,
yeah.
the whole,
We need
the whole
to
plan, the whole
specify.
Right,
process.
continue with plans for Richardson Park as the outdoor pool complex for the town of Berthoud. That would be my motion.
I would feel a little more comfortable if we just defined the plans a little bit more, being from design to bid, right? Design, CDs, and bid.
I actually feel more comfortable having it vague. I mean, I feel like
I agree. I think
town
that
staff
if
has
implied-
expertise to lead it through.
Yeah. So I guess I will second Lauren's motion. If we could get a vote.
I would just
In
want to
favor.
add that there's an understanding, and maybe this is just Carl carrying the message, that we know it includes financing. It's,
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone in favor say aye.
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 Anyone, did everyone say aye?
Can someone repeat what we said again? Is it
Okay.
just
so the
proceed with
motion is
plans
to
for Richardson?
recommend that the town continue to work on and pursue plans for an outdoor pool complex at Richardson Park, including.
Can you say that way slower?
Oh, are you?
I'm trying. Yeah,
secretary?
We'll get to it.
You'll get
but
to, you'll get
yeah.
to it later.
I would make a motion to recommend that the town continue to pursue the outdoor pool at Richardson Park.
You can put me as second.
Yes, got that one. I do need. We'll get to it.
And so for for clarification for me, in case people ask, the strong recommendations for those amenities once again were 8 lanes, 0 entry, separate kiddie pool, deep end diving board.
Perfect. I think those
The
are the big ones.
blocks.
The blocks are part of the
I
lanes.
mean,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually feel like 0 entry and kiddie pool. It's like either one would satisfy me, but I don't know if that's just me. I also don't have kids, so I'm not the best
Yeah, I
person
don't
to speak
think
to
a separate
this.
kiddie pool is a priority. If little kids are going to be allowed and use the 0 entry part, I think it's redundant.
So
Yeah,
that would
so-
be on
Kiddie pool would be.
a B list.
So,
I mean,
well, I
the
think
only reason this separate kiddie pool even became a discussion was because Amanda shared with us
Yeah.
what happens when there's accidents in the pool. So
Okay.
I mean, I feel like just logistically, however that works out, if there is a second body of water, you know, I think that's a
And
detail down the
I
road.
can and I can have that conversation.
As long as there's, yeah, I think that's. But yes, diving board, 8 lap lanes, 0 entry. I think that's the key, which I feel like was heard last night. I think Chris understood.
But do we all agree this is to get to that decision point, to get that bid, so that next decision can be made?
Well, I don't think. I mean, yes, but not a decision by us. I don't feel like.
No.
Yeah.
For the trustees, but
Yeah.
when we're talking plans, I just want to be clear, we're talking to get to that bid point so they can make that next decision.
I think they're probably, and correct
That's
me if I'm wrong,
implicit in
they're
the-
going to.
Is that implicit? I just
Yeah,
want to make
because
sure that
that's
is
why
that-
this has been, from my
Okay.
understanding, once again, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But it's my understanding that these last few meetings were to get your input. Do you want to pool at Wagner? Do you want to pool at Richardson? Now you have said that you suggest a pool at Richardson. That is going to move forward. And the next step is going to be, okay, what do we need to do to get it out to
Yeah.
bid, et cetera, et cetera. So that process, when I give the recommendation tomorrow, that process will be started.
And-
Is that correct?
And I'm assuming that we as the port committee will be able to have input on the design process?
Yeah, the designs come to you guys first.
Awesome.
Whenever those, that's
Perfect. Thanks.
should be standard operating procedure,
Yeah.
because you'll see the higher level stuff, weed out some of the details, and then it gets passed on.
Perfect.
Are there any other discussions to be had about that agenda item before we move on to staff updates?
I don't know if it's worth making a motion tonight or a recommendation, but my sense is we all feel that we need to keep the other projects also on the radar, that being Jaskowski, Newell Farm Park. And I don't know how we get the message to...
Or potentially rec center expansions.
Or rec center
other things that we
expansion.
haven't.
I don't know if it's appropriate to...
So I can speak to that as well, Keith, if you're okay with that. Because can you scroll through? Can you scroll down a little bit to some of these other plans that were on the earlier list?
Like this one, or
Yeah, that'll work. So we have Knievel, Richardson, Town Park, etc. So there, other major projects are Newell Farm, Jaskowski, Town Park Phase 2, and the other one that's kind of in limbo is Knievel. And so I would like that if you guys are going to make that kind of motion, do you want to say that it is your recommendation that anything on the list now gets precedent to anything new that might come up? Or do you want to list out certain ones that are on the list now to remain in the list in their place in case something comes up, so that this kind of back and forth for 8 months doesn't happen again? Does that make sense? So let's say, like, randomly, and I just bring this up because it happened, right? The golf course guy comes. He's like, hey, we can do this at Knievel. Okay, well, we also have 3 or 4 other major projects in line. Do we want to even look at that right now? Or do we want to finish Town Park and finish Newell, etc., before we even, like, yeah, sure, that's a good idea. We'll put it on the list, but we're not going to bring it to the top of the list. Is that something that you would like to recommend, or is that just something that...
I think that's
is
a
what
hard
it is.
line in the sand to draw, because
I
I think that everything is so fluid. I mean, things change. Like if we look at the survey from 7 years ago, things changed. If we're not, I would hesitate to make a hard recommendation that like these projects have to be done before we start anything new. Because what if something comes along that the town is like, we want that, and then we're like,
the pickleball
well,
course,
Or we
for
need that.
right, or
Pickleball
we
course
need
are
that.
a great
And so
example of
I
that.
wouldn't necessarily be in favor of making any kind of recommendation like that, because I feel like these things are ever changing, and we're trying to keep up. And yes, this has come to a kind of a stalemate in terms of planning, but I think for good reason. I think it came, yes, this 8-month lag is a bummer because it's taking that much longer. But if we look at where we were 8 months ago and we look at where we are today, I think we're getting to a much better outcome of what's going to happen. So I don't know. I don't know if I would make recommendations that like these projects have to get done before we can be looking at any new projects.
Okay, then
And I
the
feel
reason
like,
I asked... Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I feel like it, in everything I've seen, it's very clear that Jaskowski and Newell are at the top of the list. So I don't personally feel like we need a motion to like. I feel like that is already
Right, and those other things are sort of.
Well, I think a motion, I mean, what I brought up at the beginning was a motion, it should be clear, isn't the same as a vote. I'm just saying, and I'm not forcing, I don't want to force the issue, but
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Is it your recommendation that Jaskowski be included in this round of purchasing?
It already, I mean, according to the,
Because it's in the documents, but
yeah, and honestly, I don't even know what we're getting with Jaskowski either right now
because
because,
the plans haven't been.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the other thing is like, I think I heard. Okay, I think I heard last night that, I mean, Port had given a recommendation about all the buildings to chop down or not, you know what I mean, destroy. Like, where does that fit into this too? Is that part of the 500K? I don't think it was, and so it's not fully fleshed out on what you're getting for 500K. How much trail are you getting?
I think this, from what I understand, is that the town is moving according to this in the budget. The town is moving forward with proceeding with Jaskowski.
Yeah, but we had talked about the building demolishing, the parking lot, the bathroom.
I just don't think
the
that-
trails and the disc golf.
I just don't think that we're there yet in presentation.
Right, but just what? Yes, we want to move forward with
Okay.
Jaskowski, but what does that mean, right?
We don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
well,
But I don't think 500K is going to meet all of that, right? So
Right.
just
maybe it's as simple as saying we don't want them to be put on pause.
So that you guys don't want anything that's numbered on this list to be put on pause.
Well, I think we're saying specifically right now, Jaskowski and Newell Fund Park. I don't
I
know.
think he's saying like the ones that have numbers attached to them.
Oh, the ones that have numbers
Which is
attached.
Newell and
Yeah.
Jaskowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that have numbers attached.
Those have priority.
Continue to move forward with the
Or just
projects that we're.
don't put them on pause
Okay.
unless there's a reason.
The,
and
the
an
reason I
announcement.
asked, I didn't mean to complicate things, but the reason I asked is if you make a motion that to not forget about things in the works, Knievel's in the works. It's on the list, right? And so that might overly complicate the process, because if someone does come back and they start dangling Knievel designs to someone, well, it might get put back on the list a lot. It's late in the day. I apologize.
it's so hard though because we don't have a price for any of this.
Yeah.
Even Jaskowski, like we don't have a price for Jaskowski. We don't have a price for Newell. We don't have a price for Knievel. We don't have a price for a rec center expansion, which we've talked about too, and we should not forget about that. But that's going to determine what we can afford too, right? Like if we are pursuing Richardson and you go all the way, we don't even know how much money we're going to have left to do any of these things. And that might determine, you know, if you got Knievel and it's like really cheap to do, maybe that does take priority, right? Or if you do have extra money, we have like a boon and, you know, there's a ton of extra money available. Maybe you can, you know, so it's hard to pin that down without having like solid numbers.
Yeah,
you know?
that was my only concern about making a motion like that, because then it's sort of giving your formal recommendation to things that we have no idea about.
But I guess what I'm hearing is that nobody's disagreeing with the priorities listed here, at least that are in green and blue, right?
So you guys agree with, you made two motions that you have made recommendations for, but you also agree with the way things are prioritized overall, as presented.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
If you want to make a motion, don't let me tell you not to make a motion.
No,
right?
no,
That's not
no,
what I'm
I
saying.
agree. I agree with that approach.
I have a question, but it is fully informational and it's not related to the pool, but it is related to this topic and things we talked about yesterday. And it's what is happening, what is the environmental issue that's causing Larimer County to have a problem with the Tenny rail crossing? We mentioned
It was the trail. It was the regional trail. They found a golden eagle's nest,
Oh, okay.
and they're having some communications with landowners.
We're
But I
talking
think
the Loveland Trail connection. Yeah.
I felt like most of it was like the landowner thing. I think was kind of already mostly satisfied, but it was the Golden Eagle nest
Golden
You
Eagle's
have to
Nest.
Here across County Road.
across
County Road
County
14.
Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
Right.
was the regional trail going up from Heron Lake subdivision up across
Yes.
the road to the regional trail.
Sorry, got the road wrong there.
The Golden Eagles had a nest. The nest blew over, I think, last year. I don't think they ended up making a new nest, or they were still figuring out where to put the new nest. I thought I heard a story that the two birds each were working in a different nest. I don't know. But
TV show.
there's buffers in the management plan that you have to stay away from the nest. So it's hard to work
Hard
on
to plan
things.
if you don't know where they're gonna nest.
Yeah. I shared the update a couple
Okay.
months ago. I can't remember anything
So we're
else.
waiting on some birds to.
Wait on birds. I think Loveland has a while. 2027, 28. For maybe any construction to begin on their side.
They're big birds, to be fair.
They have big nests, big houses.
Yeah.
This is just a funny story. I can't remember. I met the dog folks out there at Jaskowski. I think the Golden Eagle was sitting on Jaskowski's property. Like we pulled in. Yep, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, we pulled in, and one of your guys was like, "Was that a Golden Eagle?" And I was like, "Oh, there it is." Yeah, it was. That's a funny one.
Did you want to let them?
Yeah, did you guys have a
We'd
comment?
like to have some discussion about Jen Hosky. We got great news. My name's Wes Dillon. I'm from Loveland, Colorado, 2343 Helen Court. Great news is the dog training amenity at Jaskowski doesn't cost a thing. It's ready to go right now. You know, I know that you're involved in making it open to the public, and we respect that. The Platte Valley Hunting Retriever Club is 200 members, all active dog trainers. And actually, as you know, Ms. Jaskowski was a founding member of our club. So, Kelly, you had talked about a timeline and how important timelines are. And timeline for public use of the facility is up in the air, right? It has to be approved, the amenities have to be installed, et cetera, but I'm suggesting that our club does not need any additional capital expenditures, zero. I have a question though. What does it take if I wanted to reserve a ball field for a birthday party? What's the process? I'm ignorant when it comes to that. What's the process if I wanted to utilize city amenity for entertainment or a private event? How do I go about that? Certainly. What would be required for our club to make a reservation for the Jaskowski property for a day? And I would propose that we would have a great need and would be happy to work with the Parks and Recreation to establish that property to be utilized on a need basis or a rental basis. Say 1 week or one Saturday a month for the months April through August. It would be limited to membership only. We would work out the details of how that reservation be made. Again, we're a fully insured organization, limited membership, completely under control. We would like to utilize the property on a limited basis. Not open to the public, we understand that. But would it be possible for our club to reserve that property on a given day
I think, I mean, Keith can speak to this, but from a town staff perspective, certain capital improvements do need to be made
For the public.
for anyone, including you guys. So like, they would need a gate and I think some other things. So maybe you can speak to that, but
Right. Yeah. Just that for this year, it's just not open to the public, I guess, or in any capacity. I think we were starting to plan. We were going to put in the budget the money to start getting it open for the public.
so there are plans in the works to put the bare minimum there to make it available to people like you all.
It would be like a ball field that's already
Well,
open to the public.
yeah. I mean, we're not putting like this year was just to get wrap up the conceptual design. We do have some updates on that we're working to so we can get bid sheets together just in house that we're doing because we're not going out and getting construction drawings built or anything. We're kind of trying to take it on ourselves. So I've been wrestling with the place is open for trails, and this could be a possibility at some point in 2026. The place is open for trail users Tuesday through Saturday, and it's open to dog training on a reservation basis Sunday through Monday, something like that. That's kind of a loose plan we've been working towards. If the board approves it in the budget.
Saturday works great for us.
Yeah, there's
For individuals, as a club, we can take 50 people and put them in there on Saturday, April 5th, make a reservation, pay the money,
Mhm.
have it supervised, have it open to the public if they wanted to view goodwill, generate some excitement. The second Saturday in May, the second Saturday in June, or whatever it may be, on a limited basis. It wouldn't be
Mhm.
making an announcement open to the public with signage and all that.
Right.
So
Yep.
I just ask that maybe that's a consideration for 2026, one day a month for club training, very organized club. A dog park, not free dogs running around all over the place. That's really not what Ms. Jaskowski wanted, I don't believe.
Mhm.
Dog park,
Right.
dog training.
Mhm.
So I've got a great deal of respect for the committee. General public has learned a hell of a lot if they attended these seminars. The public forum is a beautiful thing. I really didn't realize how in-depth and how complicated some of these issues are. But thank you for what you do. I've got a great deal of respect for the complexities that you go through with every day. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
All right, staff updates, Keith?
Oh, we're ready to go?
What's
So
that?
can I repeat? So do we have two motions? I've got recommends the Arboretum remains the top priority and continue efforts to get underway as soon as possible. And then motion for the town to continue to pursue the outdoor pool at Richardson Park. 8 lane, 0 entry diving board. Is there anything else I'm missing there?
Diving blocks, maybe that's already assumed.
Those are included with
Yeah,
the
I
lanes
think
as far as I know.
And then the port would like the chance to see the design once it's more fleshed out. Okay.
Sounds great.
All right, staff updates. That's right.
Yep.
So we're kind of working on the schedules for the remaining port committee meetings. We've typically done a holiday break. We do have things lined up to where we could meet December and January, and it works for us to continue moving along with things to meet both December, January, February. Just keep rolling through. So the January meeting is January 7th. At that time, we would plan for Wink. You guys know Wink Associates. To come forward and speak with you all. Today we had the kickoff meeting with Sarah at the Newell Farm property. So the next kind of month or two is them getting to know the property, getting to know as much as they can about, stakeholder interviews and things like that, reaching out, grabbing a bunch of information from us. And then they'd come in January and share what they've heard to see, here's the track. And then once they put down together your comments, and we're going to take it to the board as well in January, and then you start really drawing it out. So that would be the January meeting. So is everyone in town on January 7th, I guess, or is enough people?
Yeah,
I see enough.
I mean, I'm good with that.
Yeah, it'd be great to see it.
Okay. And the kickoff was great today. It was 2.5, 3 hours long. Sarah and Butch, very organized. I know you've been waiting to get that information out for a little while, but it was very organized. The expertise and understanding that it's more than just a stage and how to direct the sound and stuff. It's really cool stuff to hear. So it was a fun time today. Other updates, the North Trail pedestrian light is on. There's some modifications we got to do that have come. We're going to move one of the stop bars back. Basically, the vehicles pull up right under the sign. They can't see the lights, things like that. So, and we're going to adjust some signage a little bit so people understand the lights. The lights are solid red, and then they start blinking red, and that means you're supposed to pull up and still look and then proceed. So there'll be some signage adjustments, but that project for the most part is wrapped up and functioning now. And Jaskowski, I know it got brought up there. We have, I would consider like 99% with the concept designs that we were going to share. We can share with you all. We were kind of just moving forward with the impression that we were going to put it in the budget and to try to get it open for trail use and dog training next year. I can bring it in December and kind of show you where it's at. We're not planning to demolish anything yet because we still use the barn for a lot of storage, and we use the garage for a lot of storage. There's 2 garages on the property other than the barn. We still use those for storage. So we're not ready to demolish them yet, but we have a plan where those areas are fenced off. You would come into a parking lot, and there's trail usage around the property. We were planning before we actually built the trails next year. I was going to call the disc golf club that we comes in here and speaks sometimes, and we were going to kind of maybe map out a disc golf course that they would like, and then build the trail system around there, because we're not expecting disc golf in 2026, but it'd be built phase 1 in mind with a course that the public had some input on, and it wasn't us building a bunch of trails and then trying to fit a disc golf course around it. So that's how we were going to approach it. So I can bring an update in December with how that all will look.
Yeah, and one other thing that I'd be just interested to see that with that too is just what that utilization plan is going to look like, as far as that either reservations or how we're going to structure out like utilization days and kind of that overall
I think
what
I
that would-
agree. I think
that
that'd
would
be a good conversation to have. The consultants put together like a little sign. They drew a sign that was like odd days is dog usage and even days is trail usage. I don't know which one's best yet, but it seemed better to me to pick a handful of days each week that were consistent. So you knew, Sunday through Tuesday it was dog training by reservation only, and then the rest of the days it was open for trail usage, something like that, since it is unique. But yeah, we'll figure it out. That was a hope, but none of that's approved yet. The board would have to still approve that plan still. So that's all my updates.
Do you have anything, Carl?
No.
Okay. You sure? You don't want to be here till 10:15 again?
I'm good.
I have so
Actually, yeah. Thank you guys for talking through this serious issue. Helps. So appreciate it. Sorry.
no, sorry, I cut you off.
Amanda,
I
do you have any staff updates?
Well, not staff updates, but a new event that's coming up will be December 6th, and we are doing very, very birthday.
craft fair? Love that.
You get any more details about what Santa does? People need to know about that, so they. Okay, just confirming that he might not be able. I mean, yeah, he'll be there, but if all is. Okay, got it. Sorry.
Are you ruining the surprise? I feel like you're ruining a surprise.
We don't know how magic he's gonna be. Right? Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. Committee updates, Eleanor?
Yes. Okay. I don't have an update. I have questions based on being the secretary for a day today. Who seconded the revision to the minutes motion?
That was me.
Okay.
Or
Okay. That was question one. And then just a quick update for Lauren. So what we said is that I'm going to be secretary, but my role will be delegating who takes minutes for the week, and then the non-chair, vice chair committee members, I think, who are willing will rotate through.
people offered to do it.
People. Yes. Yeah. We're gonna share a secretarial
Shared,
role.
okay.
So
Shared secretary.
my question is, who among the volunteers for shared secretary volunteers for next month?
I'll do next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Do I need to bring a laptop?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
I can
I'm not,
try.
not
I'll
issue.
I'll
I'm
send
just.
you a reminder.
Yes. Thank you.
That's my update, which is just questions. So thank you.
Yep. Anna?
Nothing.
I don't have.
Nothing.
Nothing from me.
I'm good.
Do you have any updates, Club?
We are super on track for getting this DC trip going. I've got a lot more information. What else did we do this morning? We planned another escape room for our team bonding again. For our 8 people. That'll be fun. Yeah, we mostly talked about the presentation because that's our main priority at the moment, and then we have like a work meeting to try and get everything wrapped up. I guess that's my update.
I'm sorry, what is the presentation? Did you already talk about it previously?
The presentation is for the town board for our DC trip and why we want to go. How does it benefit us? What government related activities do we get to do while we're in DC? What is the trip? How much is it going to cost? So I've been putting that together and figuring out costs for everything.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Oh, I motion. Okay.
Kelly seconds.
Kelly seconds.
All right.
You guys
Thanks, Caroline.
do the
Great job.
gavel.